Oh, we're live now.
Hi. So,
Hi.
I'm Victoria Green, and joining me tonight is Christian McNeill.
Hello.
And we just wanted to put this together because in September we're running an event to get for people that are fed up of cravings and want to get rid of them for good, or at least see through the illusion and know what's going on. And so tonight we thought we'd just um, do a really short clip of um, what to expect at that event and why we're doing it, really. So I don't know if you want to start, Christian, or whether you want me to just dive straight into that.
I think you should just dive straight in, Victoria.
Brilliant. So, um, okay, okay, well, I'll just, I think for me, I've, uh, why I spend time helping people kind of get to the bottom of addictions and cravings is because during my life, I've been at the mercy of a few,
Mm.
and I've in the past, I've I wouldn't say I was addicted to alcohol, but I certainly had problems with it socially. When I used to go out, I needed to drink, and I'd often drink to excess. And well, some of the stories might have been amusing. Um, a lot of them were embarrassing and uncomfortable,
Mhm.
quite cringeworthy at times, and sometimes scary. And at the time, um, I didn't know any different, and so it's always easier to look back in hindsight at what was going on, isn't it? But I went through. I did struggle with smoking. I spent many years trying to give up smoking, and really a similar kind of thing when I actually started. It was at university, and I I'd never been interested in smoking, but I actually I actually got this is just mad, but when I used to be studying, I'd find myself taking breaks and having snacks, and I didn't want to do that, so I started smoking instead. And even though I didn't like it, I carried on because I wanted to do that instead of like snacking all the time when I couldn't concentrate. And so like years and years later, and I was still doing it. And I thought I was enjoying it, but it got to a stage where no nobody smoked anymore. It wasn't sociable. I wouldn't want it, and when I was or I'd spend like most of my days thinking I don't like I can't have one yet, I can't have one yet, but I'd be thinking about it and wanting it, and then as soon as I went to have one, I wish I didn't. And it's a similar kind of thing with food as well. Um, once I managed to kind of stop smoking, I replaced that with food, and it's I don't do what I do when I'm not doing the event because I think people should give up drinking or should give up smoking or should control what they're eating. That's not why I do it. The 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 reason why I want to help, and the reason why I talk about this and I share the experiences I've had and everything is because um, it's because I don't think life is supposed to be that hard. When you find yourself in that trap of not wanting to do something, but not being able to stop and wanting it's almost like you've got two voices and you're warring yourself, and there's no way out. It's and um, and when you understand what's going on, it just makes it easier to see through that and um, easier to stop.
So could you say more about what you mean by seeing what's going on and seeing through it?
Well, a lot of the time when we start to get annoyed with something that we're doing that we don't want to do, and for, for me, I started to clean up. I
Mm.
started to change my diet for health reasons, and when I went down that route, I enjoyed it and I wanted to do more of it. But I started there were things I wanted to cut out that I thought were not very good for me, that um, weren't very helpful in the weight and the health department. Um, in my case, it was like especially bread, biscuits, sweets, like maybe cheese and things like that. And we can start when we've got something like that, we come we come a little bit fixated on it,
Mm.
and um, we concentrate on what we don't want, um, and so like chocolate as well. But we're focused on it, like we're fixed, almost fixated on it. So like thinking about it, and whether we have it or we don't have it, we're still thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we do have it, it can bring all kinds of guilty feelings and frustration or like stress and then disappointment with yourself. And if you don't have it, it can it can bring feelings of um, like you're missing out or you've lost something, and it's just constantly there, and it feels like it's getting bigger and bigger than it actually is. Whereas if you if you think about what you do want as opposed to what you don't want, it 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 becomes less of a battle. Or I found it became less of a battle because you've got more options. You know, it may be that it's not that I want to cut out chocolate from my diet for the rest of my life. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
may just be that I only want it occasionally, or I only want it on weekends, or something like that, or actually I do want a treat, but it's the sugar I don't want. So perhaps I can make like desserts that or treats that I do want.
Mm-hmm.
Treats, even that one. So it's um it's just a different way of looking at it, but it makes a difference.
Yeah. Were you about to say something else?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
carry on.
going to
Carry on.
just um, also find that so when I first work with people, they've got like a lot of reasons why they want to give something up. And in a similar way, that's what they're where the focus is on what they want to give up and why they should give that up. And I, th I think that's a starting point, and it's useful, and it perhaps gives us kind of a nudge into wanting to that's the kind of thing that actually nudges us into wanting to change something. But I've I found that the more you understand why you do it in the first place,
Hmm.
as opposed to why you shouldn't, then the easier it is to see what's going on.
Hmm. Sorry, nothing's just moved. Could you expand on that, the bit about seeing what you, I can't remember how you put it, why you why you want to do what you're doing in the first place. I can't remember quite how you put it.
Yeah. So, um, and I think we've spoken about this before, but and I'm just talking here about specifically things that you sorry, Christian, I'm trying to think how to put this. um, but I what was your question again? You're asking me to expand
You
on.
said something along the lines of it becomes easier when we see why we were doing why we do what we do, or why we think we need to do what we do, something like that. And I was just um, um, asking you to, if you could expand on that, but maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't.
So when you start to look at um, why you so people that want to change their eating habits or want to cut something out generally want to um, but when they are cutting it out they still want it, you know, so they're going backwards and forwards and
Yeah.
um, and they've got a lot of reasons why they don't want to eat it.
Hmm.
It's like it may be I want to lose weight, or I'm feeling I want to I'm not feeling very energetic, and I know that these foods don't help with that, and and so they might have a lot of reasons for not having it, but it's not until you start looking at why you are eating it, and that could be a whole host of reasons. It could be, well, I get home at this time and um, it's the only thing that I can make in like under 2 minutes, and I'm normally starving at that time. Um, Once you start looking in that direction, you start to get a feel for what it is you really want,
Hmm.
and that might be anything from convenience food to actually when I'm feeling down or when I'm feeling stressed, this is what I turn to.
Mhm.
Or the only thing I want to eat is this. And but it's almost until you see that side of it, it's almost like you're running around blindfolded.
Mm.
And it's, I want to go in that direction, but I don't know where that direction is, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and I think quite a few things have come up for me when you've been speaking. Um, but I have also had issues with addiction in the past, and I had problems with both drinking and smoking in my twenties, and I stopped in my late twenties, and that's really another story for another day. But I continued to have an on off kind of problem with food, and that battle that you spoke about, that internal battle, the tension that's created by that, and the energy that goes into it, and um, the pretty devastating effect it had on my self-esteem, I think, was just not a nice thing to have going on, because it was like could never be happy. I mean, either I was giving in to those cravings and having stuff that I knew wasn't good for me. I had a sort of fundamentally um, quite healthy diet. Certainly by the time I came across the sort of three principles, where I had fundamentally healthy diet. But what I want, I was like I wanted these treats on top of that, and I found that very strong desires or cravings for them at times, sometimes very frequently, sometimes several times a day, and it was a bit of a no-win, because you either gave in to them and then felt terrible, and pile on weight, and had a number of sort of minor health issues, old injuries and things like that, a degree of arthritis. None of that was helped by it, or else if I kind of resisted them, there was just this incredible tension inside, because I felt I was depriving myself of the thing that I really wanted, and that wasn't much fun either. And once that thought came into my head that whatever I want, a piece of chocolate or some whatever piece of cake, it seemed to get stuck there. It wasn't that it didn't go away. An hour later, it'd still be thinking, still want that, and um, so all of that. And it's only in the past that this year, I would say, that I've had that experience of seeing through the illusion. The talk, the title that we've given to the event that we're doing, and um, seeing that it was just a completely made up belief that um, I had a sort of false belief that contentment or wholeness or satisfaction lay in giving into this craving. And in fact, the truth, because when I really examined it, what actually came of giving into the craving was, some different kinds of not very pleasant feelings of regret, shame, guilt, or whatever, feeling out of control. That whole um, kind of constellation of unpleasant feelings. And you can kind of say the words that, seeing through that, seeing that belief that craving was actually based on a false belief. And that's one thing. And it's sort of evidently true when you say it, but it doesn't necessarily change anything. And I think what changed for me is kind of getting that at a much deeper level. You know, a real. I mean, some people you talk about having a realization or an insight, and it's just absorbing that information, having a clarity about it in a way that makes it possible to change. And it's not even possible to change implies that there's still effort involved, but that there's I think what I saw, I had a moment of clarity around that eating food that isn't particularly good for me when I'm not hungry is so not the source of my well-being that I was able to. I changed in that moment without there having to be effort, and that's not to say. I mean, sometimes that it still comes back, but I feel as though there has been um, something of a fundamental change there. That I realise that it's the whole, the whole structure of what I was previously doing, that unhelpful way of being to me, that wasn't, has kind of unravelled a bit. And so I'm not left in conflict if I don't give in to the craving, because I see that the craving was just out of nonsense in the first place. Um, yeah, and and that's and there's a lightness associated with that. Especially after, in my case, a very long time. I've had these kind of struggles going on since my teens. So it's a long time, and to just live with that inner conflict that you described at um, the start of the talk.
Yeah, and that's something that I know we'll dive into at the event, because I think one of the keys to it is seeing, we talked about that internal conflict, and for me, one of the keys was like knowing the difference between kind of an irrational craving, and that it's almost like you don't have a choice,
Mm.
and just an authentic desire,
Yeah.
so something that you can take or leave,
Mm.
and that's something I like people to really see for themselves and get a sense of, because until you know the difference, like until you can see the difference and sense the difference in those, then like with a craving, you're not free. It's almost like you don't have a choice. Um, you're not free to say no, because you're well, it's almost like you're compelled. But even if you go against that compulsion, you're still losing out. You
Yeah.
still feel like you're missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, in that way of being, there's no place of peace.
No, no, and that's why I do what I do, because it's a horrible trap to be in,
Mm.
and once you've um and once you've got a sense of what's going on, and you've seen it, and um you've witnessed that in your own behaviour, it becomes easier to witness again and again. Like you said, you still sometimes have um fall into perhaps behaviour you were in before, but
Mm.
you've got a sense of like what's going on, and it's there's no effort or struggle with that now.
Mm.
Or there certainly isn't for me. And I not only do I see it with food, but I see it in other areas of my life as well. I can get a sense of whether I'm feeling compelled to do something and almost like I haven't got a choice, or whether actually um, it's just something that I want, and I'm free to take it or leave it.
So what would another example be?
Well, just um, if if I'm feeling like I need to do additional training or something like that, because um, so if I feel I need to do it, that um, my future depends on me doing it, like my well-being and my effectiveness, and um, uh, that then I kind of get a sense that I'm falling into a little bit of a trap there.
Mm.
Whereas if I am happy to, if there's something I want to do, and there may be benefits to doing it, I may come out knowing X, Y, and Z, but like I'm rationally able to take other factors into account as well. As like, well, um, does it all fall into place? Am I able to make the dates?
Yeah.
Am I able to pay for it at this time? And whether I'm happy to or comfortable. I guess it comes down to I always think when I'm making a decision like that, and it's not just courses. It could be anything. It could be if we're going out for a day trip or something. Like, do I think the outcome determines my happiness or not, my well-being, and if I think that um, that there's a need there, that I need it in order to be happy, or in order to be confident, or whatever the feeling is, then I I realise that um, actually that's not an authentic desire. Um, there's kind of an urge and a desperation and um, a wanting there that's not natural,
Mm.
for want of a better word to put on
Mm. Mm. Yes, it's almost in inverse proportion. The strength of the desire, or the feeling, the extent to which you feel driven, the less the less authentic, the less from from that um, kind of wise inner place it's coming from, because what I found is the things that are genuinely right for me in the moment. That there's a clarity around them, but there's seldom an urgency or a drivenness.
Yeah, that's it. For me, it always comes down to, are you free to say no? Are you free to walk away from this? And
Mm.
if you don't feel that you can take it or leave it, then um, that there seems to be some of this illusion at play there. that we'll dive into.
Mm, excellent.
So I don't know how clear all that was. It was fair. It's quite hard to condense. Um,
It's the sort of thing that becomes clearer as you explore it for yourself and have the opportunity to uh, share, ask questions, answer questions, and it's an experience. It's an experience rather than a theory or a set of rules or
yeah,
formula or things to do.
exactly. They're just directions that we'll be looking in and exploring.
Mhm.
And uh, like what happens with clients, what will happen at the talk is that each individual will put them in their own context, and it'll bring up for them questions about what they're doing and what they want and what they don't want. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, immensely.
So do you have anything else to add, Christian?
No, I feel that I've let you do the this sort of the lion's share tonight, and but I did. I mean, I don't feel there was any point in um, I thought you did that beautifully, and this feels like, and so we've reached a sort of point here. That
Brilliant.
might be.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you in Scotland.
Well, yeah, me too, and anyone else who's listening to this and is interested, please do come or get in touch with one of us and chat
Yeah,
some if it's for
what
you.
what the best way to get in touch with me would be to email me at vicstar@btinternet.com. So that's VICSTAR at btinternet.com, or get in touch with me on Facebook, Victoria Green, and under this video I'll post a link for the event as well, so the details will be there. But Christian, if anyone's got any questions for you, how can they contact you?
The best way is probably via my website, which is elementsofwellbeing.net, and elements of wellbeing is all one word, and it's got my phone number, email, and so on. So, yeah, by all means, please do.
Brilliant. So I'll see you then.
Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, Christian.
Thanks,
Bye.
Victoria. Bye.